I'd like to call our meeting to order, and I will turn it over to Councilman Jeff Wilhite.
Good evening, everyone. It is seriously my pleasure to introduce to you Cassie Galloway. Cassie is the new CEO, just in the role a couple months. She took over from Karen Talbot at Child Guidance and Family Solutions, and we all know what a great job Karen did, and absolutely smooth transition with Cassie. She's doing a great job, and I just wanted to give her a chance to introduce herself and a little bit about what she's thinking about with the agency going forward. So Cassie, come on up to the mic, introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
Oh, it's right there on top.
Okay. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Hi, thank you, Jeff, for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it, and thank you all for having me here today. As Jeff mentioned, I did take over for Karen Talbot July 1st of this year. Karen was with us for a very long time, but I have also had the pleasure of being at our organization for about 18 years. So really the story of started as an intern and worked my way up, interned as an outpatient therapist, worked in one of our Barberton locations for a number of years, managed that site before managing all of our clinical programming for the past 6 years. So I was very lucky to be able to walk alongside Karen and learn not only the clinical side of things, but the business side as well. So as Jeff mentioned, when Karen announced her retirement, which I don't know how many of you know Karen, didn't think that was ever going to happen. We all thought she would be working forever. But it was a very easy transition in that regard. Although I am learning, there are many, many things I still don't know. So very excited to learn more. But as Jeff mentioned, so Child Guidance and Family Solutions, I did bring a couple goodies over there. So if anyone wants a stress brain, not a stress ball, stress brain, please help yourself. There are materials there in addition to my card if you ever want to connect with me in the future. And then just a little bit explaining our organization. So to speak to kind of what we're hoping for, so we've been around for 86 years, since 1939, which is incredible. We've had many, many changes over the years in terms of our services, but really we have always been heavily focused on treatment and more recently increasing prevention services. So I am very, very excited to announce we have actually just signed a lease to have a new location in Greene. So that will bring us up to 4 office locations, are in Central Akron, Barberton, Cuyahoga Falls, and now Greene, probably open in February or March. So one of our goals is to continue to expand access to care across the county. Some people really like to be seen in the offices, some prefer to be in the schools, homes, things like that. So we are trying to really reach all corners to help people wherever they are. Continuing to focus on treatment services, that's outpatient mental health, and as I mentioned, prevention services. We are in a number of schools, primarily for kiddos really under the age of 10. That's where we have found the biggest need to be. And then the last thing I would say, is that we really have sat together as an executive team internally and decided what do we want our goals for this next year to be. So we have thought about really wanting to be the provider of choice. That's something that's really important to us. And what does that entail? That means having really well-trained staff, having people who are committed and staying in the organization, because anybody who knows anything about mental health knows when you're on your 4th therapist, you kind of don't want to do it anymore, right? So looking at those pieces of how do we make sure we have really well-trained, well-qualified staff, they already have the passion and the commitment, right? So how do we keep them there? Being the employer of choice, right? Of how do we, again, going back to that keeping people, but continuing to reevaluate what worked for a workforce 10 years ago doesn't necessarily work for this workforce now. So, consistently trying to reinvent what are the things that we know we need to do to make people want to be with us. And then lastly, financial sustainability. It's a question for everybody, especially in the environment that we in. I will say I saw ADM is here, so thank you. They do incredibly help us with our financial sustainability, so we appreciate them for that. But just continuing to look at, there's a lot of uncertainty with Medicaid, with contracts, with funding, things like that. So how can we continue to be innovative and try in different ways to make sure that we are successful? So that's kind of my 4 months in of what we're trying to do, just trying to all get our feet under us, make sure that we are heading in the right direction. We have the right right people in the right places to do the work. So it's really just kind of continuing to determine onward and upward. So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
At the beginning, you talked about the 4 office areas. Could you please repeat those again,
Oh,
please?
absolutely. Yes, we are in downtown Akron, right next to Stark State. We are in Cuyahoga Falls on Bailey Road, in Barberton on West Park Avenue, right across from Lake Anna. And our new location is on Massillon Road in Greene. It's right by the Human Bean. That's my best recollection for location.
Thank you.
Of course.
Cassie, have you guys been able to sell the one building you were trying to sell on Canton Road?
Almost, not yet. We have, as Jeff mentioned, we do have a location that we've had for a number of years that's been on the market for almost a year. We have an interested buyer. We are hoping to be able to get that sold, but we're kind of pending some logistical things. Anything else? Okay. Thank you all very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
The time is 4:36, and I'd like to call the Public Works Committee meeting to order. We have one item on the agenda tonight, 2025-311, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with Trimore Corporation for the Bayberry Drive Drainage and Roadway Improvement Project located in Northfield Center Township in Council District 1 in an amount not to exceed $869,926 for the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Heidi Swindell, Summit County Engineers Office. This project, we applied for OPWC funding on behalf of Northfield Center Township to replace pavement, about 1,200 feet of storm sewer, and put in some new curbing on Bayberry Road in Northfield. It has some stormwater runoff issues, so we did get that grant approved. It is 90%, and this bid came in about 18% under the engineer's estimate. So we just learned from the OPWC that we can actually go back and get the township's design fee. OPWC funds will then pay for that since we have the leftover money from the amount that they got. So bids came in great. We are doing this on their behalf. They are using their local share of the Surface Water Management District funds. We entered into an agreement with them, and they'll be paying the county back. Well, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Any questions from council members? May I have a motion? A motion from Councilwoman Hyam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will, unless there's any other business before Public Works, I'll adjourn the meeting at 4:38.
Planning and Economic Development will open at 4:38. Our first piece tonight is 2025-312, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional service contract with ABM Industry Groups, LLC, for operation and management of the Summit County parking deck in Council District 4 for a 60-month term for the period of 8/1/25 through 7/31/30. Sorry, threw me seeing that in writing. In total amount not to exceed $657,496.18 for the Executive's Department of Administrative Services physical plans.
Yeah, hi, Greg Stanley, Administrative Services Executive's Office. So we sent out a RFP. We had 2 responses. One of the responses didn't meet the minimum qualifications, and so we went with ABM, who's run the deck for us for like the last 20-plus years. So.
Thanks, Craig. Any questions for Craig?
So Craig, what is included in the contract for ABM?
So they do the day-to-day operations, manage the tickets and the money, and do the pay-ins and things like that. And then they also, this time around, they're going to be cleaning the deck and maintaining it since we,
So
fixed
that
it up. And then 4 times or 5 times a year, they're actually going to drive through with a machine, and sweep it up and everything. And it's going to look a lot nicer than it has in the past.
Thank you. Glad to see the cleaning's included.
Right.
Any other questions? I'll have a motion from Mr. Wilhite on 2025-312. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. 2025-313, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Environmental Systems Research Institute, Inc. as sole source for software maintenance, including technical support and software upgrades for ArcGIS for a one-year term from 10/31/25 through 10/30/26, in an amount not to exceed $95,800 for the Executive's Department of Community and Economic Development and the Office of Information Technology Emergency.
Gabriel Durant, Department of Development. This is our standard annual renewal for Esri GIS service licenses and support.
Any questions for Gabriel? Ms. Hyam, you want to move? I have a motion from Ms. Hyam on 2025-313. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Planning and Economic Development will close at 4:41.
And I will open the Public Safety Committee at 4:41. Our first item is 2025-314, a resolution authorizing the executive and sheriff to apply for and the executive to execute any documents necessary to accept the award from the Ohio Department of Public Safety's Office of Criminal Justice Services, a Drug Law Enforcement Fund grant up to an amount of $250,000 with a 25% local cash match requirement up to an amount of $83,333.33 for a project total up to an amount of $333,333.33 for the period 7/1/26 through 6/30/27 for the sheriff declaring an emergency. Alan?
Good evening, Bill Holland from the Sheriff's Office. This is our annual DLEF grant that covers the cost or the salary of one of the detectives, the rent for the building, and some of the car fuel and maintenance.
Are there any questions for Mr. Holland? Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Councilman Lacotte. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. 2025-315, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Montrose CDJR LLC, DBA Montrose Auto Group at CUE pricing for 3 vehicles in an amount not to exceed $123,935.25 for the sheriff and declaring an emergency.
Good evening, Bill Holland from the Sheriff's Office again. This will be for 3 Dodge Durangos that will be marked for marked units to be used by the deputies that serve the papers for child support. And there's 5 deputies assigned to child support, 2 that work in the building and 3 that work in the field, and they rotate. So these will be used by the field deputies.
Are there any questions on this legislation? Do you have a motion? Anybody? Motion by Councilman Lacotte. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. 2025-316, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a renewal first of 3 of a purchase contract with AberTest LLC, DBA AberHealth, for on-site drug screen testing services for a 1-year term from 12/15/25 through 12/31/26, in an amount not to exceed $288,982.98 for the Court of Common Pleas General Division Adult Probation Department declaring an emergency.
Hello, David Magora, Court of Common Pleas. This is for a renewal, the first of 3 for our drug testing services on-site in our probation department that services our probation population and our specialized docket clients.
Are there any questions on this? Yes, Ms. McKinney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What drugs are they testing for, or do they have to, is there a panel they normally test for, and how far can they tell back if they were clean?
So it depends on the type of test, but we could test for pretty much anything through AberTest. It's just how we configure the panels and the testing. We have hair testing, oral fluid testing, urine testing, so it all depends on the type of test, but they are very configurable, usually a 12-panel test.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilwoman McKinney. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
2025-317, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional service contract with Children's Hospital Medical Center of Akron, Division of Adolescent Medicine for physician and medical services in the Juvenile Detention Center for a total amount not to exceed $369,339 for a one-year term from 1/1/26 through 12/31/26 for the Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Division and declaring an emergency.
David Horner, Summit County Juvenile Court. This is the annual agreement we have with Children's Hospital providing physician, nursing, and psychiatric services for the youth in the detention facility. Children's Hospital has been associated with the court for, I think, about 37 years now at least. I mean, as long as I've been there, plus a number of years. It's a 5% increase over last year's contract amount. And the nurses are there. Physician services are there 3 times weekly, and then the nurses are there for 13 and a half hours a day and on call at all other times.
Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Mr. Kajan?
I guess my question is there any competing bids for this contract?
As a medical services, it's not one that
It doesn't go to bid. Okay.
doesn't go to bed.
So how do we make the contract, given there's one children's hospital in town, and how do we know we're not succumbing to a monopoly?
Yes, kind of so. I mean, it's just been a long-term relationship, and I don't know who else would provide adolescent medical services and such.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? I have a motion from Councilman Schmidt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. 2025-318, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Federal Express Corporation as the best practical source for service of process of documents for the Clerk of Juvenile Court for a total estimated amount not to exceed $165,000 for a one-year term for the period of 1/1/26 through 12/31/26 for the Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Division, declaring an emergency.
As with the county clerk of courts, the juvenile court clerk has gone with Federal Express for process services of documents. The dollar amount has not changed, at least for the last 3 years, and a large portion of the cost are recovered through court fees.
Any questions on this one? Okay, do you have a motion? Motion by Councilman Schmidt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
The
you.
ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Horner. And I will close the Public Safety Committee at 4:49.
The Rules Committee will come to order. There's one ordinance to consider this evening, 2025-319, an ordinance amending sections 109.1.02 and 109.03 of the codified ordinances of the County of Summit titled Record, Reproduction, and Fee, Exemption, Actual Cost, and Public Records Transmitted by U.S. Mail, and declaring an emergency.
Good evening, Bill Holland from the Sheriff's Office again. This pertains to our body camera, public records requests for body camera footage, only public records requests. Right now, we're charging $4 per request, and that's only to cover the cost of the flash drive. So whether it takes 45 minutes or 6 hours, we charge them $4. So with this, the law just recently changed, which allows us to charge per hour. So the intention is to charge $50 per hour. According to the law, I believe we could charge up to $75 an hour, but we're looking to only charge $50 an hour. Right now, we've had 66 of these requests so far in 2025, and they average about 1 hour per. There's a couple factors here, the length of the call for service, the type of call for service, and if there's 3 or 4 deputies that respond, you have 3 or 4 different body cams going on at one time, and you'd have to redact all of those different perspectives. So as it would work, the person making the request would get a letter stating that there could be a $50 charge, and then from there they would get an itemized list of what the charges would be.
Bill, I don't know, this may not be for you, maybe another question we can get answered. Are we allowed to charge for any other form of public information other than the cost of like the paper it's printed on? I understand the time that goes in, but $50 just seem excessive for a public record to me, and not in line with what we charge other things.
Yeah, as far as I know, this only pertains to body cameras because they have to watch, almost frame by frame and then redact any, if they say a record that that has to be omitted or redacted, they have to take that out and faces.
Oh, I
and
get
things
it.
like that.
Okay. That makes a
It's
little
very
more
labor
sense
intensive
than
to-
just producing a flash drive. Got it. Thank you. Thanks, John.
Any other questions from members of the committee? Aaron Dickinson?
So am I understanding correctly that it's going to be a flat fee of $50, or are you saying it would depend on how long it takes to prepare it?
Yeah, it would depend on, they're notified up front that it could, it's going to be $50 per hour, but it could be more. And they will give them an estimate. Like I said, if it's a call for service where 5 deputies respond and there's 5 body cams going on at one time with different angles, that's obviously going to, take more time than if it's just one person and the call is cleared quickly. That could be, 45 minutes to an hour to redact that video.
Okay. What's the longest do you know that you've spent on one of these?
And multiple hours. Again, if it could be domestic violence where we have, multiple deputies responding and the body cameras are running and running, those are going to be more labor intensive.
Mm-hmm. So somebody could reasonably get a bill for a couple $100s for one of these?
It's possible.
Okay. Has there been any consideration of waiving the fees for indigents, for victims, anything like that?
That I do not know.
Okay. What about capping it? Is there any consideration of capping it?
I don't know that that's been in the discussion either.
Okay. I'll just let you know, I'm going to vote no because I think that in those certain situations, this could get excessive, and I don't want to see us charging domestic violence victims $500 to get a body cam. I would like to see us consider some limits around some of those situations or some caps. I understand that it does take a lot of man-hour to do this, but based on that, I have some concerns. So
If the request comes from an attorney or the courts, there's no charge in that. This is just a straight public records request.
okay, but before you get to that point, if you're requesting it and you don't have a lawyer, then you have to pay perhaps several $100s.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay.
Councilwoman, let me, I need to go back and look at some emails. We did have some exchange about giving the sheriff an authority to waive the fee in certain situations. So I need to take a look at what that was. And we had talked about press, nonprofits specifically, but then decided to give some discretionary authority so that for these things that come up that, so let me find out what those exceptions are. We kind of left it open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons this changed at the state level was the monetization of these videos. So YouTubers requesting OVIs, certain interactions that the police are having with the public, they request those. It takes many hours, and then they turn around and put them on their channel and use them for profit. And so there's not been an intention to chill the requests of the public to have those. But I think that that's sort of where the state legislation was born out of.
Yeah, and it seems to me perhaps that could be addressed by if it's somebody who's pictured, who is in the interaction, part of the interaction, if it's a parent of a juvenile in an interaction, you know, I don't think we want to be charging those people excessive fees to get those body camera videos. So I would suggest we take time. If not, I'm a no at this point, but I would be interested if we could go further into seeing if we can deal with some of those particular situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, my understanding, even at the state level, was that any party to the case, including victims, attorneys, defendants, et cetera, would not be subject to this, and that's your understanding as well.
Right. It was just like Ms. Johnson said, people that are for profit, or we're getting bombarded with these YouTubers, and they want every copy of every video that they see, in the news. They want anything that can get people to click on it, basically.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, my questions were answered. I think Councilwoman Dickinson addressed or asked the questions that I was really thinking about around indigence and making sure that victims were not charged these fees. So I'd like to see more information on that, and even if you could let us know by average how long it generally takes for video production. I think something like that would be helpful for us.
It's about an hour average. Of the ones that we've seen this year, they've been about an hour.
The work to pull them for a file, it takes about an hour?
Yes.
Okay.
What would these employees be doing otherwise? Are they being taken away from other work, or is this something?
Yeah, other records requests, approving, checking reports, and just.
So these are people that work in the records room?
Yes.
How many are there?
5, I believe, 5 or 6.
Are they backed up with their work right now?
They're busy.
You're busy, but you're not overwhelmed?
I don't know. I can't answer.
Could you find out and get back with us? Because, if we're going to start charging people for this, why? I guess is the question. If these people have got to be there for 8 hours every day anyhow, and they're not overwhelmed by other things and getting behind in their work, then what's the purpose of this?
Well, I think that's the purpose of this, is to stop people from the frivolous requests.
Abusing it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's something that you have to think about, I suppose. Thank you. Rita was next, and then Dave.
Yeah, they answered a lot of my questions, too, because I was just wondering about attorney fees. But Councilman Schmidt, like up in my area, I was following something. There's an incident that happened, like, for example, in Macedonia, and there's a group of individual residents that were trying to get a video of the incident just to hurt somebody. You know what I mean? It was just to be hurtful, to put it on social media. So I think that Macedonia was charging them a certain amount of money for a copy of the officers' cameras, and I kind of shut that down. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you. Mr. Lacotte.
Yeah, forgive me if this has been addressed already. I just wondered, is there a schedule or a matrix that is going to enumerate the fees, if you have to work on something, because we dealt with public records requests where people just request everything under the sun, and they're doing it frivolously, or they're doing it to harm someone, so if you have a request for multiple cameras and it's going to be more labor intensive, has that been listed? Is there a schedule so we know?
Yeah, once they make the request and the details of the request are received, they'll get an itemized list. They can make an estimate. Here's how much we think it'll be due to the number of cameras involved in the call or the length of the call. They can give them an itemized estimate at that time.
So there's consistency, so somebody can't come and say, well, you charged so-and-so this and you charged me. Okay.
Right, and they won't just hit them with a bill where, like, well, where'd this come from? They're going to see up front, here's how much we think it's going to be, so they have an estimate whether they want the request or not.
Thank you.
And I believe you can't give it to them until they pay the bill, right?
They have to pay the $50 up front, right?
I guess I would ask John Galonsky, I thought for years.
It's a new statute. Ms. Johnson, if there is a new law that went into effect to specifically deal with the situation, generally the law does not allow you to charge for the individuals who prepare the request.
Right.
There was a specific statute authorizing somebody to charge. It is discretionary. I think that's been pointed out as well. So you don't have to, but it's a new legislation, and I know that we talked with the sheriff about that. So it specifically deals with, as has been mentioned, the video.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's challenged on the basis of constitutionality. I don't know how you can pick and choose. Oh, you're a pest, so we're going to.
The statute doesn't mention that. So the statute doesn't say, it also, it's not related to why you made the request. So nothing in the statute is related to why you made the request. So you don't have to say why you made the request. It just deals with the response and the time related to the request. So in any of the public records laws, it never requests a specific reason why you're making the request. So that's still consistent. This statute doesn't say, well, if you requested 5 or so, then the 6th one has to be charged as discretionary, and it doesn't, the motives of the person are not in the statute, or in this legislation either.
No,
this legislation goes to motive.
we get, there's certain people that make records requests after records requests, and we tell them, look, we're going to process them in the order. They're like, where's this one? Where's this one? Well, we're processing them. If you give us a new one, it goes behind the old one, and then we just keep processing your records requests, and they continue to pile up.
I didn't think about this, but what about email? Like, what if they ask for the request to be sent by email? That's not supposed to cost anything, correct? If you send a public record to email.
So the email is not, you can make a request in any matter. This statute passed by the legislature, this deals with the video request.
Yeah, the labor, I believe it's just the labor involved in processing the video.
Right, so this statute just deals with the processing, not a paper request, but a video.
You had to send video, like by email? Like if you had to download something and send
Right now,
for a request?
we only do them on flash drives right now, as far as
Okay,
because the
okay.
files are extremely large.
All right, thank you.
There's one more to respond to Councilwoman Dickinson's question about caps. The state has a cap set at $750, so there is a state-imposed cap. The state allows for up to $75 an hour with a $750 cap.
Just to follow up to the earlier discussion, when we do find out what the exemptions are, and somebody said parties are exempted, I'd just be curious to know what the definition of that is, because of course there's parties to a lawsuit, but there may not be a lawsuit or a charge out of every interaction. So I'd like some clarification on what it means to be a party in this sense. Thank you.
Along those lines, I'd like to see some detail, Brian, on who can waive it, who can waive the cost, and why.
Yeah, let us.
Because if we start treating people unfairly, then we're going to, there's attorneys out there that are just sitting there waiting for something to be treated unfairly,
And
so
then
they
they'll
can.
submit 500 requests and then sue us over the
Yeah.
not waiving. Let us, so let's do this, because there's nothing in here as written about waiving fees. All it says right now is that state or local agencies for law enforcement purposes, so obviously other police departments are exempt. Doesn't say anything else about anybody else being exempt or waiving those fees. Let us confer with the prosecutor's office. And
One statement was made that attorneys get a waiver. If you're an attorney, you make a public records request. I don't think that statute, the one that is in existence, does make an exemption for attorneys. But if Attorney Cajun made a public records request, it's irrelevant whether he's an attorney or not. He would have to pay the cost.
well, Joe should.
It would be 10 cents per page. Or if he's going to request something from the sheriff's office that's video, it's going to be whatever the costs are if this is an active legislation. So not picking on you, Attorney Cajun, just using you as an example. Just because you're an attorney making a request, the statute does not create any exemptions for attorneys.
I think we need to talk about what would go into the statute as allowing for waiving fees, but then there's also the practical matter of, in practice, where would we, wouldn't we, and kind of what are the ground rules for not, to council's point.
Some more detail.
Yeah, so we're good with time on that. We'll follow up with the prosecutor, sheriff, and try to.
Mr. Schmidt, I was going to say that because Erin Dickinson's on your committee and she made, I don't know if she made a motion or not for time, if you have to vote on that or not for time or to table. I was just going to bring that to your attention before you move forward on a motion.
See, it's almost the end of the year, so how much money would this have? Could you look this up too, please? How much money would we have generated?
66, there's been 66. As of the beginning of November, there were 66 requests that would fit into this category. So if you figure an hour each at $50 an hour, that's about how much?
Yeah, that's only like $3,000.
Your CPA,
right?
correct?
That's only like $3,300. The issue in this, I think, is really goes back to the online folks who might abuse it for personal gain. And so, Bill and I had back and forth about, is this really necessary? Why are we doing this? I think most communities, I know Akron and Stowe and a number of communities are looking at either they have enacted or are looking at enacting it. I think you all raised fair points about the ground rules around this. And I know you had a couple other questions over here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a question, I think, for Mr. Galonsky. I know with a public records request, generally there can be requests that is too broad in terms of the time that you can request something. What would that be for body cam footage?
So you have to be able to, from the request, identify what they're requesting. So you can't make a request to the sheriff's office to say, I want all body cam for the future, or all body cam. You have to make the request after an incident occurred, and it has to be identifiable. So we have to understand what you're requesting. Now, if somebody requested the body cam from an incident that occurred at 123 South Main Street Thursday evening, that could be 4 or 5 hours, correct?
Yeah,
so
could be.
It's not the time, it's do we understand what you're requesting? So if something's overbroad, overbroad would be give me all the body cam from last week. That's a pretty broad request. So it's not a fixed time, it's can we identify it? You're not going to be able to just make general requests, and you can't make a request in the future. So you can't ask for records that don't exist yet, they have to exist.
Thank you.
Do you know if anybody's asking for requests for cameras that are out there? You know, any of the cameras, can somebody ask for a request for that?
Are you talking about like the ODOT cameras?
Yeah, just the cameras that are out there.
They have made.
So does anybody ask
requests
for that? Huh?
They have made requests. If you remember, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, there was a dump truck that got in a crash that caught on fire. That video was everywhere. So that was an ODOT camera that they had made requests for and were able to get that footage.
We've got requests for incidents that occurred in the courthouse, in a courtroom, and so we've had records requests for that information as well. So they're different. So if it's being captured, that's recorded on fixed media. Generally, it is open to a public records request. So now there are exceptions. If a minor's captured in a request, there has to be reaction. But generally, you're recording it. It's a fixed media. And the general would be subject to a public records request. Now, the sheriff's office and a lot of the offices have a retention period, so they don't retain the video, which is continually going on, like at the courthouse. Make sure everyone's entering. There's a retention period, so it's not retained forever, which would be very costly. Mr. Nelson would be very upset with the storage costs.
Well, yeah, the body camera storage is extremely expensive because when a deputy gets out of the vehicle or initiates a stop, they turn the camera on and it stays on for the duration of the call. And again, if it's at someone's residence, if there's a privacy issue, if for whatever reason, or if something is said with personal information, that all has to be taken out. So it's a lot of footage.
So victims are redacted under Marxist law, so if there's a domestic violence, the sheriff's office respond to in green, where you're the police agency. So you can make a records request, but there would be within that request some of the information would have to be done.
Yeah, if they mention their name or anything that would identify them. So.
Any other questions from members of council? Mr. Wilhite.
John, for a point of clarification, this is only for public cameras, correct? In other words, it doesn't apply to nonprofits who might have security cameras around their,
Records only apply to
just public facilities. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
All right, any other questions from members of council? The public. Aaron Dickinson moved for time. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is any other business to come before the Rules Committee? Then we're adjourned.
I'll call the Health and Human Services Committee to order at 5:11. First up is 2025-320, a resolution authorizing the executive or designee to execute or initiate for a two-year term from 1/1/26 through 12/31/27 through the State of Ohio's County Financial Information System and any other documents necessary, the acceptance by the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services of intercounty transfers of surplus funds from other Ohio counties and to release surplus county of Summit funds to other Ohio counties in exchange for those accepted funds, provided that the collective funds released in a given calendar year do not exceed the collective funds accepted in that calendar year for the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services and declaring an emergency. And clarification, because that is hard to follow.
That's a lot. Good evening, Tom Jalbert, the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services. So this is our biennial housekeeping measure to authorize GFS to send and receive allocations between other counties. As you said, everything, as long as we receive more than we give, that's the right word, we can make the trades as often as possible. This has been a very advantageous to our county. We've received hundreds of thousands of dollars in excess of our standard allocations because of relationships we've built with other counties. In 2024 alone, we ended to the positive of $340,000 on top of our standard allocations. And so far in 2025, we are over $150,000 with a month and a half still to go. So we expect this to continue to go on, and it's been very good for us.
And this has been ongoing for many, many years.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. Yes. Any questions from members of the committee? Members of council? May I have a motion? Mr. Acott moved on 2025-320. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, next up we have 2025-321, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a renewal, second and final, of a professional service contract with Clarity Solutions Group LLC for automated mail processing services for a one-year term for the period of 1/1/26 through 12/31/26 at cooperative purchase pricing in an amount not to exceed $100,000 for the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services. Mr. Jeffrey.
And again, this is a renewal of our agreement with Clarity Solutions. They have been running the automation of our mail processing, incoming and outgoing mail. This has really increased our efficiency and accuracy with the items that we send to clients and those that we receive back from them. And it's allowed us to spend more time and effort on casework instead of the clerical side of the house.
Great, thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? Members of council? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Ford moved on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Next up is 2025-322, a resolution declaring November 29th, 2025 as Small Business Saturday in Summit County, encouraging the residents of Summit County to support our small businesses for the executive and council.
Hi, Rachel Madigan for Executive Shapiro's Department of Administration and Public Information. So this is one of my favorite facts. Small Business Saturday began in 2010 as a marketing campaign by the credit card company American Express to encourage holiday shopping on Saturday after Thanksgiving. The next year, the Federal Small Business Administration used this opportunity to jump on board and promote shopping at small businesses. Since then, Americans have spent an estimated total of $223 billion during the annual Small Business Saturday. Last year, reported projected spending was around $22 billion alone nationwide. Now, down here at the local level, together with me and my colleagues, Allie Gopal and Colleen Kelly, we manage the county executive's social media accounts. So for the past few years, we've been doing regular posts each Saturday of November highlighting a small business in Summit County in honor of Small Business Saturday. So we strive to find a diverse group of businesses each year, from retail to coffee shops, hair salons to transportation companies, and we look to include women-owned and minority-owned businesses as well. If your gears are spinning and you have any ideas in your district, we'd love to know for next year's highlights. So this year we've featured, if you've been following along, Illich Cafe in downtown Akron, the Social Department in Cuyahoga Falls, Barika Cafe in Coventry Township, and then we have two more coming up in the northern part of Summit County, and I don't want to spoil it. You'll have to tune into our social media to find out. At the most recent business we visited, which will be posted this Saturday, they had a sign on their checkout counter with a list of 10 ways you impact your local community by shopping small, and I really liked that. So I wrote down some of the things that they included, and it included keeping dollars in our economy, creating local jobs, nurturing community, and conserving our tax dollars. We love to see our small businesses engaging with our community members and sharing these real benefits of shopping small, and we want to make sure that we amplify these to our community at large. So there's two events happening where you can do just that locally. There's the Small Business Saturday Market at House 330 on Small Business Saturday from 11 to 3. And then at the Northside Marketplace, there's Small Business Weekend, all weekend long. So we hope Summit County residents consider shopping small, whether it's at one of these events or in your local community on November 29th, or any day for that matter. So you can follow County Executive's social media accounts to check out our last two Small Business Saturday highlights this year, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Rachel, thank you. It's a great program, and just as much as we can encourage local. It's just too important. So any questions from members of council? Council as a whole? Yes. Great. Christine Hyam moved on. Oh, Bethany, I'm sorry. You guys sound alike. 2025-322, all those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
Councilman, before you close the committee,
yes, sir.
If I could share some news with you, I want to recognize one of our employees. Friday, we received a letter from the Ohio Job and Family Service Directors Association, and it opening paragraph states as follows: Dear Executive Shapiro, it is with great pleasure that I share with you that Terry Burns, Director of the Summit County Department of Job and Family Services, has been selected as the recipient of the 2025 OJFSDA Outstanding Director of the Year Award.
Hey!
And if any of you happen to be in Columbus on Friday, December 12th, there is a reception, a ceremony at the Ohioan Hotel and Conference Center, 100 Green Meadows Drive. Ceremony begins at 11 a.m., and Terry will be recognized at the ceremony.
That's wonderful. Terry, congratulations. And I'll tell you, if what you've done in the last several weeks with this whole SNAP thing, you and your whole team, and the county executive and their team and members of this dais and so many across the community, I'm not surprised you were selected for that, because it's just one more example of how this community comes together. And thank you for everything you do. Very much appreciated. Congratulations. I will now close Health and Human Services Committee at looks like 5:19.
We'll open up finance. We have two items, and it's 5:20. First item is 2025-323, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional service contract with the Amazing Cloud LLC as best practical source for disaster recovery as a service for a 19-month term from 1/1/26 through 7/31/27 for an amount not to exceed $130,625 for the Office of Information Technology and declaring it an emergency.
Stephen Byrne, Office of Information Technology. So just as the description says here, this is for our disaster recovery efforts. We've been with them for quite a few years now. The price has not changed. The only thing you're seeing in a 19-month term there is we're just trying to co-term it with some additional resources so they terminate on the same date.
Thousand 25-324, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Fairlawn Gig as best practical source for high-speed internet service to support the virtual court project for a one-year term from 1/1/26 to 12/31/26 and an amount not to exceed $120,000 for the Office of Information Technology and declaring it an emergency.
Pretty simple on this one. This one covers just the internet connectivity for all our buildings in the county. So exact same price as last year. It's been that way for about 3 or 4 years now.
Four, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and I will close out finance at 5:22.
Councilman John Donofrio, before we move on to budget hearings, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Councilman David Lacotte. He has a guest that he would like to call up, please.
Madam Chair, actually, I think we were going to... Mr. Horak, did you want to come up and address council? We have two of our finest going to address you as you were coming up, but they can answer any questions after you address council. Thank you.
Oh, my name is Daniel Horak, 2057 King Drive, Stowe, Ohio. I just called today. I was just sitting at home. I have days off Monday, Tuesday, so sorry about my attire. I was working on my car. I just want to know, like I get on Ohio's website, I could see how to put a ballot issue or ballot initiative for the state of Ohio, but I don't know how to do it for Summit County. So I'd like to know how to do a Summit County only ballot initiative.
John
And John can help you. Is it a charter amendment or a codified ordinance amendment? Because I think the two are just a little different.
You want to change the Summit County, you want to put something in Summit County codified ordinances.
Sure.
So that's your
I'm ignorant to this, but
So our charter basically says if you want to do an initiative, you do it as you would do a municipal initiative under Ohio law. So there's actually the Ohio Elections and Issues Handbook actually outlines that process. In a short, to give you kind of the depth, you have to get signatures of 10% of the last governor's race. So it's
it's 9,000 something.
176, so it's about 20,000 signatures. There's a process before that as to you have to identify the initiative, the codified ordinance that you want to create.
So do I do this through the state or do I do this through the county?
Forms, but you'd have to come to the clerk of council to submit the initial process, and you'd submit the
Ballot language?
signatures to the Board of Elections. They'd have to count to make sure that you have sufficient number.
Okay, so just like the state, I have to get the ballot language approved before I get signatures?
No, you don't have to get the ballot language approved. You submit what you want, and then you go out and circulate.
So do I have to have it approved before I go get signatures?
There's no approval process.
Okay, so,
It's different than the state constitution. So that's the thing.
all right, so I guess I'm ignorant. So if I go out and get 10,000 signatures to say make marijuana illegal in Summit County, sales of it, just to throw that out there. I just go get 10,000 signatures and then bring them to you?
So I can't give you advisory opinions, but you have to understand that you can only make a codified ordinance something that Summit County Council has jurisdiction over. For example, if you said, I want to make the minimum wage in Summit County $20 an hour. Summit County Council doesn't have the ability under under Ohio law to set a minimum wage. That's preempted by the state. So you'd have to look at what you're trying to do, and you'd have to perhaps get some legal advice to understand, is that something within our codified ordinances? Is that something that the county can legislate?
Okay. All right, so I guess I got more questions and, all right. So basically, I'll throw it out there. I want to get rid of e-check, okay? I have a personal mission to get rid of e-check. No one's done anything about it. I want to go get 10,000 signatures. I can get them in 2 weeks. I guarantee through my church groups and the organizations I'm part of, we can get the signatures, okay? I know that we have a home rule type of law. Okay, I was told by the state, well, I was told by the county that e-check is a state thing. Then I was told by the state that it's a federal thing. But our federal sheriff has a home rule to allow the federal government to stay out, or county sheriff, correct? So if there's a disaster, county sheriff has to ask for help, then the governor, then the federal. But if the way I look at it is there's 7 counties in the state of Ohio that are being oppressed by this. If it was everybody, I'm down. The 7 counties that are being oppressed by this are also low income, and they're also majority minority counties of the state. Okay, I just want to go get my neighbor's signatures because I'm tired. I pay a lot in taxes. I go to work, pay for my kids to go to school, and I just want to be part of the system that helps lessen the burden upon my neighbor. And I don't know how to do that. I could get you 10,000 signatures, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Give me 3 weeks with the resources that I have. No, we could, but it's just, I'm tired of being angry. I pay 38% in my payroll every week to tax. I pay $500 a month to property tax. You know, when I take my time and then I take my money evaluation, it's almost, you know, it's 40% of my time is to a tax. And then this e-check is only 7% of the state. If it affected everybody, cool. But how do we as a county just say, no, we're done? You know, it's about time. All my life, my adult life anyway, I've had this e-check burden. And I drive junk cars because I got 5 kids that I'm fixing cars for. And they're all Buicks. They all have the same engine, same oil filter. But how do we get this on the ballot? That was the purpose of this. I'm not trying to be angry anymore. I'm not trying to look at my burdens. I'm trying to be positive and moving something forward. And I have assets to do that. And I think it's about time, you know. You're Summit County, you're only 7 counties. Why?
So if I could just, I have 4 kids. I totally hear you on this. I had a minivan that needed catalytic converters. I was told $3,500, and the only reason you need it is to pass e-check. It doesn't
Amen.
improve the quality of your vehicle. It doesn't improve anything. It just gets you to pass e-check. It's insane. So my question is, who is in charge of the fact that Summit County still has e-check?
It's a federal.
Yeah, it's approved by the federal EPA, the state EPA.
It's the Clean Air Act of, what, 78 or something, 70?
So is it based on where there are more emissions?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not something that somebody in Summit County has decided?
No.
But do we have a home rule with our sheriff's department that can say,
Yeah, well,
you know, I mean,
so when we get into home rule, we can legislate, the county can legislate matters that are not matters of statewide concern. So the state essentially trumps certain things that we're allowed to do, and then the feds trump the state. Excluding our, so I think the answer to this particular question is really this. If we wanted to adopt a charter amendment that made every vehicle every year subject to it, which is more restrictive than the state, we could do that. Can we make it less restrictive? I'm guessing we probably cannot. And
But-
so that's kind of the bounds where our charter authority.
What, I kind of guess I understand. I mean, the marijuana is illegal and federally. I can't even take my marijuana money to the bank and put it in without getting a RICO case, right?
Yeah.
Not that I do it. I don't really care. So we choose not to follow federal law for weed, but we choose to follow EPA law. I love my river, don't get me wrong. I'm an Akron born and bred kid. I know it smells better. There's a lot more animals around now than when I was a child. And I'm cool with that. But just our county, if I move 10 miles out of the county, I don't have this problem.
The marijuana thing's an interesting, it's technically for employment law, we have to follow federal employment laws as it relates to marijuana use, where.
Yeah, I'm a railroader, dude.
It's,
Yeah.
it's still illegal. The federal government has just chosen not to enforce this in the states that have passed these laws. But the federal government decided to go enforce it. They could enforce it.
Well, at one point in time, the state of Ohio, and I can't find it, I've been searching for it, is you were allowed to have a dry county. Okay, so there's a law that stipulates that county by county can do these certain laws. I just can't find it. The Google whatever thing doesn't work very well for that stuff.
So there's a little good news. The state did vote to eliminate e-check, but the federal EPA has to give it sign off. So actually Summit County Representative Romer championed it through the State House. So it looks like in July of this year, the E-Check Ease Act was passed. However, the federal
Waiting on the man.
EPA.
Yeah. Fair enough. So I guess all in all, as a citizen, moving forward, I would like to know how to put something on the ballot for the county. And I think you should have some way at the Summit County Board of Elections to tell me, because when I get on Summit County Board of Election, it kicks me up to the state of Ohio. And then as a county resident, I don't even know how to legislate my own county, let alone the state. You know, state stuff's too hard to deal with. In the county, like I could say hi to you, and I'm part of it.
I would give you this advice, and I think it mirrors what John said. There is a process spelled out for charter amendments to the county charter. Unfortunately, and people always hate to hear this, it probably would behoove you, if you're truly interested in moving forward with a petition amendment for either the charter or a codified ordinance amendment, to have an attorney look at what you're proposing to do, first of all, to see if the county even has any authority to do it, and then to review that process of what you would need to do, because the Board of Election, they're very strict in following that process.
Oh, amen. And it
And
shouldn't.
I know nobody likes to hear hire an attorney because
No,
it
it's fine.
costs money, but you also don't want to spend months gathering signatures only to find out the county had no authority to do it, or you missed a step in the process and had to start over. That's probably the best advice I can.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate you all being here. Good. Oh.
I wish you luck. As probably the biggest environmentalist in this room, E-check is not something I ever understood because there was only so many across the state, and it just boggled my mind. Air moves. It moves. It doesn't just stay in Summit County. So I wish you well.
We'll open up the budget hearings. First up is the Office of Information Technology.
Good evening. I'll try and make this quick here. I have a couple handouts. The big stipulation on this is there is a little bit of sensitive stuff in here, so I want to make sure I get these back at the end. Awesome. Thank you. So starting off on the first page, so we'll just start with the Office of Information Technology. You're going to have two in the packet. You're going to have the IT budget, and then we also are looking at the telecom budget as well. So the first one is the bigger one, looking at roughly about a 4.9% increase, which as we talk, a lot of that increase coming from our contract services. These are just the general increases in contracts that we see year to year. Usually if it falls within that 5 to 10% range, we're pretty happy with it. This falls just shy of that overall. So overall from the contract services part looks, again, pretty healthy from what we're dealing with. The rest of the increase that we're seeing from last year's budget to this year, again, total is roughly about $471,000. So again, about a 4.9. The rest of that budget, we're asking for an additional infrastructure person on our side. We have quite a few projects that deal on the infrastructure side of the house. So this will be somebody we hope to bring in that'll help kind of cover that need. And the rest of it really is right back into that contract services. So we have eliminated a number of contracts. We've also had a few that have been added on, a couple of them that stand out that are a little bit, maybe a little abnormal. UKG's been brought in, had a 10% increase. That's our Chronos system, that's payroll. The sheriff added in telestaff over this past year, so that helps dealing with their scheduling, which I know that is a help to the sheriff's office. I'm sure they could talk at length about how that helps them improve their manual process that they've had. But that's on there, that wasn't on there last year. And then there's 3 other infrastructure projects that are on there from the backup storage. We talk about our network switch replacements and some cybersecurity stuff that I don't necessarily want to say out loud what those are. But those are listed in there, and I'm more than happy to talk through those outside of a public forum. But that's what you'll see on the IT side of the house. Again, not really much of a change and too much of a budget increase that we weren't really expecting. The second page the second sheet is the telecom stuff. Good news on that side, we're coming down about $22,000 off our budget from last year. We continue to decrease that budget over the past few years. This is a lot to do with our Centrex, these old copper lines. We're working with AT&T to get these ported over. Over this next year, we're looking to hopefully have finished those off. So you'll hopefully see another $100,000 roughly come off that budget as well. So it should be a pretty slim budget, hopefully by next year at this time. Happy to answer any other questions.
It's not a question, it's appreciation. Stephen, thanks for the list of all the different contracts that we have, because it seems like every week it's another funny name contract, and they want to do this and they want to do that. It's nice to see that there is that many. You've delineated them very nicely, so thank you, because that helps understand why it's always something every week. So thanks for your good work.
Sure, absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you. Yep, and then I'll collect those sheets. Thanks.
Okay, next up is ADM Board. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm Amy Wade, Executive Director of the County of Summit Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board. I will not be doing the budget section. I brought Jen Peevich, our Associate Director of Operations, to do that, but I felt I would be remiss in this moment, given it was a levy year for us, to not thank this body for your support and helping put that levy on a ballot and approving that, and taking this opportunity to just thank all of those who were involved. It was truly a labor of love in this environment for us to educate the community, help reduce stigma, and help get people out to vote. So we were proud to be able to pass at 56.9% of the votes. And I just want to express my appreciation to our county executive's office for all of their support as we went forth and putting this forward to taxpayers, our board of directors, our ADM support committee, members of this body who individually endorsed and helped support and educate the community as well. You have one of our providers here, so our agencies. We were all in lockstep in helping getting this levy passed, so our agency leadership, our agency staff, and families and individuals of those affected by mental health and addiction. I can tell you so many stories of the people that I saw standing right outside here in this parking lot, talking to voters as they came in and around the county about their experience and why they were advocating for this levy as well. And I will also be remiss if I didn't talk about my staff, my 25 strong, we covered as many polls of the 25 polls that we were designated to be at on election day, but these people truly work hard and they live and breathe this work regardless of their role, whether it's IT or fiscal. Everyone knows the role that they play for the people that we serve and the very important work that we do. So I just wanted to take a moment to make those appreciations publicly. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Pevich, Associate Director of Operations at the County of Summit Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Service Board. And I echo Amy's gratitude for the vote that took place on November 4th. We are very pleased with that. So to develop the 2026 budget, having a positive outlook for the vote, but again, making sure that we could manage the results if something did not go the way that we had expected. Our budget for 2026 is just a little bit over 0.5% higher than our 2025 budget. So our total projection for 2026 is $52,167,604. And I apologize, I misspoke. It's about 0.5% lower. So some of the changes that we had, our salary expenditures are projected to be about $230,000 higher, and what that relates to is having a 27th payroll during the year 2026. So of course with that then we also have a potential retirement, and that of course adds to what our salary expenditures could be should that retirement take place as we're expecting. So also the fringe benefits related to the salaries, because there is the extra payroll, then there's that extra fringe benefit for that. And then also then for the retirement as well. So those are the bigger pieces that we're expecting related to our administration being a little bit higher than we are expecting it to be here in 2025. As Amy mentioned, we do have 25 positions. Right now we have one that's vacant, but that one is about to be filled. So if we have good luck all throughout 2026, we'll have 25 persons on staff at the ADM board. We're expecting about a 7% increase in the non-personnel expenses at our agency, and two of the items that are expected to be a little bit higher standing out in those categories is the professional service category at about $6,000 more, and that's related to out-of-county commitment hearings, legal fees. The persons are Summit County residents, but run into some issues with the legal system out of the county, and we're paying for that representation in those other counties. And the other item relates to our IT contracting. We're expecting for some increases with that in around the $20,000 range as we're continuing to convert our systems to have 365 operability and being able to work across those platforms. So that's how our administration is panning out, and our contracts that relate to our behavioral health services. That's over $36 million for 2026, and that's split up between substance use disorder services and mental health services. Some of our providers, based on their actual trends, are going to see increases with their contracts, and then there are some providers that have had a trend downward, so those are adjusted. But overall, our expenditures are planning to be pretty much consistent with what we're expecting here in 2025. So one item that is a bigger program that we're expecting to be coming online in 2026 is our Dr. Fred Freese Residential Center, and that's up in Sagamore Hills. So we're expecting that to come online for April 2026. So that's a new program, and that will serve up to 16 persons at one time that are transitioning out of inpatient settings, which will give them a better transition between that level of care at inpatient and then being out back into the community, whether it's residential settings or back with their families and so forth. They'll be able to get some training around employment and other types of supportive services while they are at the Dr. Fred Freese Residential Center. So that is an increased item as we look at moving those contract items around between our different providers. We are still budgeting and planning for alternate payment models for our providers. So instead of them having to have contracts that are strictly fee-for-service, we have other ways of working with them for those payment models. So that's still in our contract system for next year. And we are possibly going to be expanding that to one or two more providers. So that was part of our planning. Another part of our planning continues to be around $2 million related to workforce. Cassie made some nice comments earlier. We're working with all of our providers, including child guidance, on different strategies for that recruitment and retention. University of Akron. So we're kind of covering the entire county the best that we can to be able to bring those persons into our system to provide the services. So.
Jen,
Yes.
Congratulations again on the passage of the levy. I was very excited to hear you just say that you're looking at new contract structures for the providers. They did come to the aid of the levy, and I think that was great. But if you're going to be looking at not a block grant form, but some type of a grant format where they give you a number of what they're going to need for the year, and then that's allocated to them. Is that what you're talking about, or clarify that just a little bit for me?
Okay. So right now for 2026, we were looking more back at our value-based purchasing model, which
No,
is...
I didn't mean to interrupt. I know for 26, because that's already ready to go.
Okay.
27 and beyond.
Okay. 27 and beyond, we're looking more towards, kind of developing the concepts. We have Dr. Michael Gillette from the Bioethics Center of Virginia working with us right now, and we've had him in to talk about the ethics of budgeting, which is something that he has good expertise in. So while we're working with Dr. Gillette, we're bringing our providers together to kind of look at what those strategies might be as we change our model and look at how that would be. So.
Great. And Greta, with the supporting organization and certainly ADM and now Trailhead coming into fruition at SUMA, have you guys had any conversations with all three entities to help maybe look at how we can make that super impactful going forward?
So with Trailhead just being brand new, I don't even know if they've announced that if they've hired a CEO yet. So we've talked with a couple of members of their board, sort of just, running into them, but there has not been a formal conversation. But once they have that CEO in place, I'm sure that'll be the next step.
Thank you.
Thank you. Only because of the people I work with at this level, county executive's office, and my fabulous staff. So they're really the winners, all of you are. So Terry Burns with the Department of Job and Family Services under the county executive. I'll be presenting a little bit along with Deputy Directors Tom Jalbert and Heather Yanian. And I'm going to start with just some stats of who we've served over the past year. For OWF TANF cash recipients, we had over 3,200 recipients this year, which was about a 10% decrease from 2024. Our SNAP recipients were an increase of about 2% at 77,000 recipients who received almost $16 million in SNAP. Medicaid recipients held pretty steady at 135,000, and that results in issuances of over $121 million in Summit County. Our Medicaid net rides continue to increase. Last year we had a 15% increase to over 107,000 rides, and this year our rides increased to over 121,000, almost 122,000 rides, which is another 13% increase. Our Adult Protective Services unit fields calls 24 hours, and we had about 3,000 hotline calls in the last year. 46% of those are self-neglect, and these stats are pretty consistent with what they were last year. About 26% for exploitation, 18% for neglect, and 9% for abuse. They take about 250 calls per month and screen in about a third of those calls. And we continue to have caseworkers out in the community providing services at outreach locations. We're at 39 different locations ranging from libraries, hospitals, Akron Public Schools, family resource centers, at AMHA locations, Summit County Public Health, and starting next month we will have a caseworker at the House of the Lord.
Good evening. I'll talk a little bit about the dollars and cents here. So our 2026 operating budget is about $55 million. This is actually pretty flat to where we submitted 2025 at. This is flat including 27 pays though. So realistically this is a decrease on last year's budget. We average about $1 million of payroll, so figure it's about $1 million less than it was last year. A lot of this is decreases in staffing, but overall the budget's kind of flat because we have increases in things like net that kind of offset the total expenditures. But overall, the budget is pretty much where it was last year. About 71% of our funding is federal funding, 16% is state funding, and then 11% is local and basically local funding with some revenues that we get from our outstation workers that we just mentioned. We have about 60 subrecipient agreements and $21 million in contracts throughout the community, about $10 million in TANF contracts, about $3 million in Title 20 TANF, which is mostly our juvenile court expenditures, and $7 million in net transportation, as we've discussed many times now. Inside the $10 million in TANF spending, at least $2 million is geared toward homeless prevention. That was this year. That was with TANF and ERA supplementing that. Next year, we expect it to be cut significantly to about $1 million in homeless prevention funding with the decreases that we're expecting in the future.
So for the next, as you all know, program-wise, we are going to have a lot of changes for the next federal fiscal year. So I'm going to outline some of what JFS's public assistance programs are going to face in the next fiscal year. SNAP, more individuals are going to be subject to work requirements in this coming year, which means they're only going to be eligible for 3 months of assistance in a 3-year period, unless they're working or participating 20 hours a week. That change is going to affect the age exemption is increasing from 55 to 64, so individuals 63 will be included in that. The child age exemption is decreasing from 18 to 14. They're removing the exemption for homeless and veterans. So the potential impact is about 16,000 individuals in Summit County, which is 21% of our SNAP population. We anticipate that our current population needing to participate in SNAP ENT is going to double over the next year in order to stay eligible for SNAP assistance. The standard utility allowance is not going to be given to HEAP participants automatically anymore. Utility checks sent to customers will now count in the budget as unearned income. And refugees are no longer eligible for SNAP, and lawful permanent residents are subject to a 5-year waiting period regardless of when they came into the country to get their green card. In addition to this, we're facing some funding decreases. The admin funding from the feds to the state, which will then be passed to us, is going to go from 50% to 25% match effective October 1, 26. And then the state will also, if the state air rate does not go below the 6% that FNS has mandated, we will have to pay a share of the actual stamps going on the card as the state of Ohio. If the error rate stays consistent with 2024, that would be about $320 million for the state of Ohio. So there is a huge push from the state of Ohio right now on accuracy, and that will go down onto the workers and into the clients because we're going to need to continue to verify, re-verify. So you may be hearing a little bit about why they keep asking me all of these questions over and over. For Medicaid, they're going to be putting a work requirement for Medicaid that's going to mirror the SNAP. That's going to probably go into effect in the end, October 1, 26 to January 1, 27. We're not sure. We're waiting for guidance from the federal government, probably in the spring. That's going to be applied to 18 to 64-year-olds. Exemptions will be given for medically frail, special needs, or treatment programs. 6-month eligibility review period for those individuals. So right now we certify these cases for a year. We're going to be required to recertify them at 6-month increments. So we're going to have to touch those cases twice a year instead, and those individuals are going to have to recertify their eligibility more often, turn in more paperwork, more chance for them to fall off of the system. Approximately 25% of Summit's Medicaid recipients are going to be potentially impacted. About 32,000 individuals in Summit County could be potentially impacted out of the 135,000 on Medicaid. On top of all of that, the state of Ohio, this is not about HB1, but the state of Ohio has also been selected for a TANF OWF work pilot, which could be a very good thing. It will change the work requirements over the next 5 years, but we're awaiting guidance. So this is yet another thing that the workers are going to need to figure out, but it will include SSI case management and mandated referrals to the Opportunities for Ohioans with Disability, OOD, for OWF participants that have medical barriers. So those are some of the things that we'll be doing at Job and Family Services and some of the changes to the public assistance program. Yeah, I had a feeling I'd be questions. Yeah.
Yes, so you said the Medicaid, Medicare, that's going to be October 1st, 2026. Did you say that'll go into effect? I was just wondering about what the date is for SNAP because I didn't catch that.
The SNAP work requirements, I'm sorry if I omitted this, all of the SNAP things that I mentioned went into effect, the work requirements, legislatively, November 1st, 2026. Okay. However, this, 2025, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
But the system in the state of Ohio could not be updated timely, so they're going to start impacting our, they're doing a major upgrade to the computer system in January, and so the first month that it's going to really affect our individuals is February. However, currently we are having to include the standard utility allowance changes. Utility checks are now earned income. and those kinds of things. But the work requirements will take effect February 1st. And what I mean by that is February will be the first month that we will count if they're not working 20 hours or in a work program. That'll be their first month of their 3. So we could potentially see in May, the first month, where people are going to not have their assistance after February, March, and April of not meeting that work requirement.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Aaron?
There's a lot of terrible stuff that you're the bearer of bad news. But I wanted to clarify something that I think I heard you say. Did I hear you say that there's not going to be a work requirement for children over 14?
So what it means is if you're a parent and if you're a parent of a minor child under 18, you're not required. They're changing that, and now it's if your youngest child is 14 or younger or older, you are required. So if I'm a mom and my kids are 15 and 16, I am now required, where previously to the HB1, I was not required. Well, they're saying the thought is because they're over 14 that there would be no need for childcare. Yeah, I'm just saying. I didn't write it.
Well, and then the impact is that children are affected by decisions their parents are making.
Yes.
And potentially going hungry because of their parents' circumstances. That's
correct.
Yeah, or unsupervised. Yeah.
And we're not sure if they will we're assuming, I shouldn't assume, but we believe that if it's a food stamp allotment of 3 and the parent doesn't do their thing, it'll be reduced to 2, that they wouldn't lose it altogether. I don't believe the whole assistance group would close, but they have not given us the rules from FNS yet, so we're still waiting to see how that's going to play out.
I appreciate the work that you all are doing to continue to support our community in these difficult situations.
I couldn't hear you.
Have we seen any of the SNAP dollars starting to flow back a little bit? I know they reduced a lot, but is
As of
anything
today,
coming back?
95% of the SNAP allotments have been issued onto the cards for November. There's about 5% that were harder cases for them to auto-calculate, so they have to do them manually. They're hoping by the end of the week, everyone's November issuances will be on their cards, but 95% were as of today. So that was... What? Whether they're right or not, we're not sure, but that was the guidance that we got to this morning from the state of Ohio.
Thanks. Could you give us a summary sort of all these cuts and the number of people it's going to affect and the amount of money that's possibly no longer going to be coming to the grocery stores and so forth throughout Summit County? Could you do that, please?
Yeah.
And send that to Mark, and then if Mark could distribute, because, I mean, I'm reading about this, and, I mean, it's cruel and it's sick to do these things. And I just don't understand how people can do it to other human beings. And then there's a thing now, I understand, that you can't buy pop and candy with your SNAP thing. Is that true?
In the state of Ohio, that has not been put through yet. However, the state of Ohio has requested a waiver from the federal government. It has not been granted yet. If that waiver comes through, then there will be a limitation, but that is not in effect in Ohio yet. There are 5 other states that do have that, and I would anticipate that that waiver will probably eventually get approved by the current administration, but it's not in effect as of today.
So in other words, poor kids, you can't have soda and you can't have candy. But if your family is financially stable, you can have candy and soda. I mean, this sounds like some kind of a sick novel from 200 years ago, that people can do this to other human beings. It makes my blood boil. And so, but there's change coming in 26. And hopefully we can get the folks in Washington to pay attention that we don't care for this kind of thing around here in Ohio, in the Midwest. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Columbus, too. We want them to listen, too. But right, this particular, right.
Correct. I think the hardest thing, or one of the hardest things for our clients is to understand what's actually happening in the community and what their limitations are, because there is a lot of news, either on TikTok or federally. And so to your point, in Ohio, it's not a thing, but in another state it is. And so it's hard for us to administer. There's a lot of phone calls that we get that, someone may call and say, am I not allowed to have this now? And today's the answer is going to be, no, you can. And then in 2 months, it might be, no, you can't. So those are also some of the things that our case managers are facing and trying to communicate accurate information, which is really, really hard on the staff right now because all of these changes are literally happening so quickly and the system isn't even built for it. So they're having to try to manually do that. So if your offices get any kind of complaints about length of phone calls getting, being delayed, our staff is working really hard to try to do things timely. But you can imagine last week and the week before when SNAP was completely turned off, what that did to our phone lines at the state level and at the county level. So.
To that end, Heather, if I could remind council members that on Thursday this week, JFS is being hosted by the Akron Urban League to have a community forum to discuss Medicaid changes, SNAP changes. It was planned well before the SNAP issue took center stage, but certainly we'll be addressing as much as we can at that time.
Yeah, I was preparing the presentation today, and it was mostly what I went over. So all of the SNAP changes and the Medicaid changes we're going to be trying to get to the community.
And to cap what Terry said about her staff, one day last week before the shutdown ended, I know that at close of business, there were over 200 calls that had to be returned by our caseworkers. So they've been doing an incredible job and doing it with empathy. So big appreciation to those frontline staff who are dealing and trying to maintain their composure as well, because people don't understand that it's not the fault of the caseworker. They're just trying to answer those questions for folks.
And again, thank you for all the work that you're doing out there. As far as the SNAP benefits, do we expect them to be back on schedule for December 1 to be continued?
Yes, and from what I understand, the funding that went through is guaranteeing the funding will be there through the federal fiscal year. So even if there's another shutdown in January, because the continuing resolution only went, I think, to January, the funding for SNAP has been guaranteed through September. So we shouldn't have an interruption in January again.
The same for WIC as well.
And just to build off of what Councilman Schmidt was saying, I share his disgust, and this is keeping me up thinking of the impact that this is having on our communities, and I'm sure it's been very difficult for your staff being on the front lines of it and feeling the pain of all these people in our community. And together with his request for information, to the extent that you have community resources, I'm sure you have that list. If you can share that with us so that we can share it, that would be helpful. Particularly you mentioned refugees. I mean, what people must have to go through to uproot their lives and their families and everything to move to a new country, and then the way they've been treated here is just disgusting and sad. And to the extent that we can help those people in our communities, we want to be able to do that. So.
Yeah, that population has been severely impacted by the confusion. Many of them have been walking into our building because they don't understand what's going on with their card. And then the confusion of the SNAP card being turned off for everybody added to the thing. So unfortunately, they were coming in and we were having to tell them, no, it's not because the SNAP is turned off, it's because you're no longer eligible, and trying to communicate that through a third-party system and, interpreters and that. So it's that staff that deals directly with that population has been doing a lot of trying to provide supportive services and information.
So a family with a child, handicapped child, under the age of 14 wouldn't have to meet that work requirement, correct? Is there any chance they would lose their Medicaid insurance for the child?
Okay, so for food stamps, it's if your youngest child is over the age of 14, you're required to do a work requirement. So if you don't, we believe that you would lose your portion of the food stamps, but the food stamps of the children. For the Medicaid work requirement, you would, that this is going to affect, it appears, again, we don't have the legislation in front of us, but the same population. So it'll be mostly the group 8 that got added in 2013 with Medicaid expansion. So you're going to see mostly single individuals without children be impacted by the Medicaid changes. And then if they do not participate, they will lose their Medicaid eligibility, which will have impacts obviously, and then those individuals are going to be required to recertify their eligibility regardless if they're participating or not twice a year.
You asked about disabled child under the age, between ages 14 and 18.
If a disabled child is on Medicaid, they're fine. They will not be affected by this.
Won't be required to do the work.
If the parent is required to take care of that child, then no, they'll get an exemption.
That's what you were asking.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Thank
There's
you.
so many stipulations.
Thank you for what you guys do.
Those are the types of things that we hope to be able to communicate on Thursday. It's very confusing. There are exemptions and trying to help people understand what they need to do in order to retain their benefits. So any handouts that we have, I know we sent the information about the meeting to Mark. If we've got handouts, all that stuff, we'll just keep sending it to Mark to send out to all of you so that if you get constituent calls, you can send that along.
And will we be doing any type of communication via social media with like just again, little snippets of it? Because it is so much to absorb and
It
it affects
is.
so many different people in different ways. But are there ways to do like a JFS spotlight moment where one of you are talking about one of the segments and then again, do kind of a series to help keep the public informed?
Yes, so Rachel, who was here earlier to talk about Small Business Saturday, it happens to be her superpower to be able to condense information into sort of small, digestible bites. So we continue to work with JFS. The problem has been thus far that even when we put things on social media, if you don't see it until the next day, it might be out of date, it might be out of date already. So we're trying to get the information to the community as soon as we can because the next step has to be communicating with providers in the area. So yes, the long answer to that is yes, and we'll continue to send it through Mark as well for all of you.
The challenge is how are you communicating?
Any other questions?
Again, what are we doing as a society when we have a country this wealthy and people, and particularly children, and the most unfortunate among us are going hungry? It's just sick, but I appreciate all that you all are doing. You devote your lives to helping people, so I hope you know you're appreciated.
Thank you.
That concludes.
Okay.
You and I are just going to switch to the stage.
No, she's going to go down. She's going to go down. She'll switch seats with me. Okay. And, well, she'll take the gavel. And then, you had already been, so then we get your vote, you know what I mean? So then you're going to renew it. I'll come over here and just go right here and I'll go Eric. I want to remind you of that, okay? Yeah. Well, just, I know. I'm used to that down there. So I set that up to go to that lunch. I met with Kyle and all them today, so I want to see what happens. My problem is that a lot of these guys, I was out campaigning for candidates they already had.
And so we almost had them out in the hall.
We were told not to.
We were going to bring us to we were trying to grab them. I think we probably could have avoided, but it went okay. He seemed like I got to catch Greta, but it went okay.
I'm doing the best I can, but I'm getting out there, but I think